Or read for you tonight that it's not just something I'm making up about knowing God. Or sometimes people emphasize something even God doesn't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sometimes some of these guys come up with something and they'll find 2 verses and they'll make $1 million on it, and even God isn't interested in it. But to let you know that God is interested in you knowing Him, it's an amazing thing what I'm going to talk. And I talked with you the other night about the attributes of God, and last night I talked with you about some things you need to get out of your life. You know, these things He hates, and you want to get out of your life. But also, you know, when you love somebody, you want to please them, right? When you love somebody, you want to please them. And so, tonight I'm going to talk to you about some things that need to be in your life to be a delight to Him. Now again, understand, look, we're preachers, the pastor and I, and you know, when I was a body man, I wanted to be known as the very best. I did. I wanted to be a good painter, and for the years that I was in it, I had just a little bit of reputation for what I could do, and anybody that has ever done their job, they want to be known for having been the best. And sometimes, you know, you want to be known for this, and you want to be known for that. You know, we're missing that because we're looking at what men will say about us. You know, I want everybody to say something good about me. Wait a minute. Wouldn't it be nice to be a delight to God? You see? And if you worry about being a delight to God, you're going to forget all about the people. You're going to forget all about the blood and the flesh and blood and bone and opinions and gossips and fellowships and elections and things like that. And what we need to do is just try to be a delight to God. And verse 24 is an amazing thing because it says this. It says, "But let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth and knoweth me." You see that? You know what that verse tells me? That verse tells me God wants us to know Him. You know what that's like? You know, sometimes, I don't mean this bad, but heaven must be like the hospital for Him. You know, you get all these friends, and then when you go to the hospital, nobody comes up to see you. You know what that's like? You go to the hospital, you know, and nobody comes by. Sometimes heaven must be like the hospital for God because nobody ever cares to know Him. Nobody ever comes by to find out what He likes and provide it for Him, to find out what He dislikes and get rid of it. Nobody says, "I want to be like Him." Nobody ever does that. He is sitting here saying, if you want to glory in this, that you understand and know me. In other words, it is true. What I've been telling you about God, about knowing God, He desires every person here. See, when I'm talking about, you know, we're very interested in knowing the Bible. We're all interested, you know, I call it the Acts 17, it's not 27, maybe it is, but I think it's Acts 17:27. Yeah. Acts 17, no, it's not. That's too far down the list. Acts 17, it's up farther, and it's not 17 either. Anyway, it's Acts 17. Paul on Mars Hill, where it says that they all got together and they all either wanted to say or hear some new thing. And we all want to get together and impress everybody with the thing that I found in the Bible that even God didn't know was there. You know, that kind of thing. And God says, gee, I wish you cared that much about knowing me. I wish you would study me enough to want to know me. And He says this, "But let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth and knoweth me, that I am the Lord which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, saith the Lord." Let's pray. Our God, again, we really do come on holy spiritual ground. I know that this platform and this room is not a holy place by nature. But God, we've come tonight to make it holy. Lord, where we gather, the Holy Spirit is here. And so, Father, we claim all of this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. And God, again, you know how unprepared and unworthy and unable I am to present the message tonight. God, you know I don't just say that. You know, Father, that I do not have in me what these people need. I know your book has it in there, and I know you have it in you. God, if they're going to get anything, it's going to have to come from those two sources. Lord, I ask, please, present a message to your people that would make them a delight to you. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen. But again, he says here that he understandeth and knoweth me. And people, honest, man, you know, if I could just know God. You know, I hear a lot of guys say, I want the power. I want the power. I want the power of the Holy Spirit. We always obsessed with power. You know, I've never understood all these guys who want power, you know, like as though they could point their finger, the light would go out. As if they could point their finger. You fixed it, didn't you? Anyway, you know, everybody's possessed and obsessed with some kind of power. I don't want any power. Now, I want to be used of God. I do want that. I want to be something, you know, any of you guys work with a tool, you know what it's like to get a socket that the corners are rounded on, and you put it on a nut, and you go like this, and it slips and doesn't grip. Or you got a socket that's got a crack in it, or you got a screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver with the tip of it, you know, chunked out, so when it just turns in the screw. Hey, I don't care if you had it since you were an 8-year-old kid, man. It's gone in a field somewhere real quick. And because it is useless, all right? I'm going to tell you something. You know what I want to be? I just want to be, what do they say, man? The nut that fits the bowl, or the nut that fits the bowl, or the wrench that fits the nut. All I want to be is somebody that God will use, okay? And people where I don't have a desire, I really don't have a desire for everybody to know who I am and where I am and all this other stuff. Boy, would I like to know God. Yeah. And I don't mean that I could know God so he could tell me some secret that nobody has seen or heard yet. I mean, I'd just like to know God. I mean, I would just like to know him so that I could please him. So that I could go, like I talked to you the night, about getting some things out of me. Listen, God has been working in one particular thing in my life for 3 years. It takes a long time to change your personality. Did you know that? Listen, your shortcomings are invisible to you. They are invisible. And what I mean is very simply this. You know, I have had some conversations with people, and sometimes, you know, sometimes you have to put it on somebody, and you do. But sometimes I'm not trying to put it on somebody, and I've come away from a conversation with somebody, and I've looked back and I said, you know what? If anybody had said to me what I said to them, I would be mad. Now, I didn't say it because I was rebuking them or anything else. Just my personality is that way. All right, so your shortcomings are impossible for you to see. They're invisible. Once you see one, that's when your wife tells you about it. Once you see one, no, really, once you see one, it is just about impossible to change. And it will take you probably a year. Listen, I've done some things that have taken me years to cultivate and put into my personality. And some of them are little, and some of them are big, and some of them are spiritual. Some of them I thought were not spiritual, yet they were. Now, I'm going to tell you, when you'll laugh, you'll say, oh, this is stupid. This is really stupid. That's all right. You ever, if I get them out here, you know, you're going out to the car, and don't ask me how, but you get your keys, and you get them, and all of a sudden they come loose, and so you do one of these mad juggling things, you know, and they go down anyway, and you feel like a real jerk. I mean, you know, everybody in town saw you, and you really feel like a nerd. You know what I did? I said, I made a decision that whenever I was about to drop anything, I just let it go. Oh, I'm not going to stand there like some kind of an idiot, you know, and then drop it. Everybody go, oh, yeah, here, throw a quarter, do that again, you know. And then I realized something about that. I realized that every time I got into a situation that I had a chance to fail, I opt out. And I realized that it went to one tiny little philosophy that had begun to permeate my life. Now, you see, that was just about impossible for me to see. It was just about invisible when I did. I didn't just start catching my keys the next day. But I said, God, I'm going to tell you something. With your help, I said, I don't care if it's my keys. I don't care if it's a falling chicken, man, I'm going to catch it. You know what I'm saying? And I said, if I go to drop it, I'm going to grab it. Now, people, I'm telling you, to this day, it took a year to a year and a half to put that into my personality. To program myself so that if I was about to drop something, I would go for it. And I just want to let you know this. I have made some fantastic catches. I am here to tell you tonight that, listen, if you ever saw it, you'd have something to applaud. I want you to know that they have gone from one end of the car to the other, but man, I might have been skidding on gravel on my knees as I scooped them before they got to the ground. But I have made some rather fantastic catches. And I've also tried some things that I've never tried in my life. You see what I'm saying? There's a natural connection to those kind of things. What I'm saying is this. I talk to you, it's very easy for us preachers to get up here and tell you what you need to get out of your life. Man, it's tough to tell you what to put in. Yeah. Now, it's easy if I tell you Bible reading, witnessing, and prayer. That's easy. Those are easy things because those are natural things. But here are some things that we need to install into our personalities. Now, first thing you have to admit, I hate to tell you this, but you're going to have to admit that they're not in there. Now, I understand that you're wonderful. You know, you're so kind and loving and everything, but they're not there. And God says this. He said, the first one here, he says, I am the Lord which exercise loving kindness. Now, you notice he didn't say, I have it. He said, I use it. You know, I tell people, I'm sure you have it happen here, and I'm sure you hear about it in Philadelphia, especially with big cities, but it happens everywhere you go. I've heard this testimony multiplied from the time I was a kid to now, and I'll hear it several times before I die. And so will you. And it usually happens in the wintertime. And right after a real cold spell, real cold snap, on the TV, say you got a bag lady or bag man, they hang around Pottstown or in Philadelphia. And in this case, you have a lot of, I've been in downtown Pottstown yet, but anyway, and, they live in a house, got about 14 cats, never mow the grass. And somebody notices that they haven't been out for about 2 weeks. In the middle of winter, so they go by and they find out that they froze to death. You go through the house, now you never see the floor in these homes. It's usually rags piled this high, and all the stuff that they're saving because it's worth something. And you go, and they find that this person, because they did not have enough money to pay their electric bill, it was shut off, and they froze to death. Everybody feels bad, and the poor person. And so in the process of cleaning this joint out, somebody pulls out a little box that was under the bed, like about the size of a shoebox, and we now discover that this guy had $1 million in a shoebox under the bed. You say, oh, he was a millionaire. Well, was he? He had it, but I call that potential. In other words, he had the potential. Man, he didn't have the potential to pay the electric bill. He had the potential to live like a king. But if you have it and don't spend it, it doesn't do you a bit of good. You understand? Notice it does not say that God possesses loving kindness. He said, I exercise it. You understand? When I tell you you need loving kindness in you, I don't mean you need to have it, and preserve it, lock it away and take all of your kindness, all the nice things you can do. Doesn't mean that. It means that you should exercise it. Now, there's a couple of things I have to admit. Good things in the Bible are as hard to, examples are as hard to find as good headlines. I haven't picked up today's paper, but probably the headline had something negative in it. Something about a drug bust or somebody getting killed or the taxes going up or some plane crash. That's usually what it is. And nobody gets up, nobody gets excited about a headline that says everything's fine. Can you imagine, extra, extra, everything's fine. Hey, mister, don't you know everything? Hey, everything's fine. Everything. Extra, extra, paper boy, going broke, And nobody gets excited. They don't run out and report those things. Peace has broken out. They don't tell you that stuff. And the same thing is true with with thoughts of loving kindness and good things. You know what? They're hard examples to find. But people, listen, you can talk, the Bible calls it charity. And other people pervert it to say love. But there is something about loving kindness, just the word loving kindness, that it just tells you that it's not something you're going to do by throwing $10 or $5 in the kettle for the Salvation Army guy down the street. You know what I'm saying? This is not some, you're going to pay you, loving kindness, it was loving kindness, yeah. Let's see, what kind I'll have a good tip at the restaurant. It's a loving kindness, yeah. Listen, loving kindness is something, man, that it permeates from you, and it just kind of surrounds whatever the object is of your loving kindness. When I say loving kindness, I'm not talking about anything that is sensual or fleshy or adulterous, but it's, I guess I picture like a child. You know how you are with a kid? Now, I like my kids. I really do. I love them. I love the one in the end there. I don't want to say his name because he'll look up and sing. But, you take them in your arms, and it doesn't matter, when they're asleep, you realize how bad they need you. Yeah. You go into a room with a little kid, and you see that precious, little, innocent, helpless thing. In fact, when I see that, I almost want to kill somebody. Because I'll tell you what, people, this is not in my message, it's just free, but if you people decide to go out and take dope, you're stupid. But that's your decision. What you get, you deserve. And if you want to go out and live immorally and destroy your body and destroy your marriage and destroy your head and everything else, that's fine. I mean, you're stupid, okay? And that is sin, but that's your choice. But when I think that somebody would take a little innocent child and teach them to be immoral and live like animals before they know what right and wrong is, it makes me want to hang some teachers from trees. It makes me want to take some educators and literally, man, put them over a lamppost with a short rope. Now, that's what it makes me want to do. When you look at a child, you know what you realize? You realize that it is, and remember to talk about God being great kindness? And kindness is something that you have, but you know what? And you say, well, man, I'm trying to get kindness, I'm trying to be kind to people. Yeah, but you know what? Now you've got to add loving to it. You know what that means? That means that kindness is an act. Kindness is something you do for somebody. Kindness, you hold the door. Kindness, you say hello. And kindness, you don't say the ugly thing you were going to say. That's kindness. Kindness is you say something nice to somebody. Kindness is you give somebody a break. Kindness is you let somebody else have in line. But then God tacks on loving in front of it. You know what? Your heart just got involved. And you know as well as I do, you just assume that your heart remain idle. Now look, man, I know you've been brokenhearted. Tough as you are, we've all cried. Every one of us has been walked on. Every one of us has been hurt. Every time I get my heart involved, man, somebody steps on it. Oh, man, come on. Sing me a song that's new. You and about 250 million other people in the United States suffer from the same problem. So, there's just somebody out there waiting for an opportunity to hurt me. That's right. You're right. Along with everybody else. Look, we have all gotten in a room one time and cupped our heads in our hands and felt the tears run down to our elbows and felt bad and been brokenhearted. You know what you said? You said, I'm not getting my heart involved again. I am not listen, man, how in the world can you have a church that is supposed to love God? How are you supposed to have a church that loves the lost people? Man, listen, you cannot disassociate love from your heart. You can't do it. And so God says, I exercise loving kindness. And He's gracious. I've seen God do some things that's crazy. I'll tell you, you want to see God, how kind He is. A couple of years ago, was going to be 2 years old. Now, I'll tell you what, I had not met Homer Smith. And I had heard a lot of people tell me about Homer Smith and what a good preacher he was, and I heard a lot of good things about I think Homer Smith has got one of the best hearts. Funny that a man can have such a bad heart and have such a good heart. Now, I understand that his physical heart is probably junk. But boy, we could all use a little bit of his spiritual heart. Man, that guy is a man of heart. But I'd never met him, and I heard things about him, and I thought, man, I want to meet this guy, Now, we'd been in evangelism just a short time. I'd left my church. We're living in a place down in Cincinnati, you know. And I went about 6 weeks without meetings. In fact, for the month of June, 2 years ago, for the month of June, I had one Sunday scheduled. Now, you don't pay rent. I mean, unless, you know, you're preaching for Mother Lode Baptist Church, you know, you ain't paying rent, man, you know, and you're eating the you know, you mow the grass and then eat what comes off. And I just told Kath, you know, I said, look, we don't worry about that stuff. We said a long time ago, if God is with us, we'll live, and if he doesn't bless us, we die. So he's in control. And the thing was this, on June 17th is his birthday. And he was going to be 2. Now, like I said, I love my kids, all right? Now, we don't get our kids, you know, we don't think they got to have everything, and we don't think their parents have to have everything. Just, you know, let you know that does carry over to us. And a lot of times my kids, oh, I wish I had. That's good. It's nice that you'd wish that. Shut up. But I love my kid, and I think, you know, I want to be able to get the kid something for his birthday. We didn't have enough money to buy him anything for his birthday. And I told my wife this. I said, listen, we'll buy him a couple of Matchbox cards. That's 99 cents a piece. Buy him 2 Matchbox cards. We got $2. We'll buy him those. He's not going to grow up warped. When I was only 2, I only had 2 Matchbox cards. You know, he'll rob a bank someday. He'll shoot the president. Well, you know, I only had 2 Matchbox. That'd be 88 years old. You know, when I was 2, I only had 2 Matchbox cards. That's what'll happen. I mean, listen, you remember, you know, some of us are old enough to remember that when we were young, we were bad because we were bad. Now it's because of our father. No, you know, my dad didn't love me, so I went on and shot a banker. Oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, you know. Listen, if I'd have been born 15 years later, man, every time I got busted by the cops, I'd have played the violin. Let me tell you how bad it is. No one cares about me. And I did this because nobody cared, and so I was taking dope because I wanted attention. You got it, sucker. That's not what I meant. So, get this. Here we are, you know, one Sunday for the month. 2 Matchbox cards for the kids. And that's that. And the one Sunday that I had to preach was June 14th, which was my spiritual birthday. I was excited about that. Well, let me say this. Before the month was out, before it came, I preached every Sunday, and I had a week-long Bible conference in June. But the 14th, I was preaching in the church up in northern Ohio, which was near our family. We were in Cincinnati. We're 4 hours south. And so we said, look, we'll stay up Monday and see the families, and we were going to stay a couple days, but I said, Tuesday, Homer Smith is going to be in a church that is only about 4 miles from our house, down here in Cincinnati. And I said, I've never heard him preach. And I said, I want to hear him preach. I said, I've just heard so much good about him. Really, I wanted to meet him. You know, it's one of the few people that anybody's ever said anything. You know, the introduction was less than the real man. You know what I'm saying? It was one of the few times when the introduction was an understatement. And anyway, so we drove all the way back Tuesday, got in just in time to change our, you know, now the next day, this is June 16th, the next day is Luke's birthday. So anyway, so we get over there, you know, and Homer Smith gets up and preaches, you know, and after the service, we're all standing in the back of the church, a bunch of us talking, and Roger Randall, you know him? Roger Randall graduated from Pensacola with me in 1973. This guy's a tremendous guy. He really is. And Roger comes over. You know, Luke is standing beside me now. And Roger says, Luke, come in my office. And he turns around and goes in his office. And Luke, dutifully, and I see him, you know, toddle on into the preacher's office. And you know, I'm talking, you know, I'm kind of wondering about him calling Luke into his office. Well, maybe he knew some secret sin in my kid's life. You know, maybe a Colombian dope shipment had come in, and And so I'm talking, and pretty soon I hear this, and I look over there, and here comes this little electric three-wheeler. And Luke is just, he is beaming, He is just, and he push the button. And he is going all over the auditorium. And Roger just comes out of the office just tickled, man. He's just laughing. And I said, man, Roger, where did you get that? He said, he said, my neighbor threw it away. He said, the cover that holds the batteries didn't broke. And he said, I just taped 6 batteries. And he said, it works fine. And I said, boy, he said, Luke sure likes that thing. I said, yeah, he sure does. He said, yeah, he said, I got it for Luke. I said, Roger, I said, did you know that tomorrow is Luke's birthday, his 2nd birthday? He said, no, I didn't. I said, God did. Now, I'm telling you people, that is a God of loving kindness. I looked at my wife, and when I tell you I tell my wife that the Lord will take care of us, I don't want you to think that that's the answer to a conversation like, what are we going to do? Because she is not like that. I want you to know now, man, she is not like that. I'd often told people when I was pastoring, if I go home tonight and tell my wife to pack the bags, we're leaving, where we're going, I don't know, she'd say, wow, this scares me, but I'm packing the bags. Yeah. Wherever you go, I go. Right. My wife has always had none of this hair pulling, what are we going to do stuff. I mean, when I tell you I'm telling her this stuff, I'm telling you that this is the one person I have more spiritual conversations with than anybody else. All right? This is my friend. We have been through life together. And so I said, babe, listen. I said, if God is not going to let our son go and have a birthday without a birthday present, he certainly is not going to let us starve to death. Amen. And folks, you know what that is? You know what I think? Now, don't you feel good when you give a little kid a present and you see the look on their face? I'm looking over there and I could just see his face beaming. But more than me, I could see Roger because he was the one that gave it to him. So I would say, you know what I think? I think up in heaven, God was just saying, man, look at that kid smile. Look at that. Look at that kid. Well, look at those eyes. I don't ever see him that big in 2 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that God does that kind of thing, and he says he delights in it. He just, I get so tired of hearing this God that has a baseball bat, and he waits behind the couch, and he whispers his will, so that when you don't hear it, he can run up and say, bam, you stupid kid, bam, he didn't do what I told you, bam, he didn't do that. Amen. All right? Now look, we're messing with a consuming fire, right? We are messing with a God that can put the devil out of the ring in 3 punches after fasting 40 days. I'm saying that we shouldn't fear him. What I'm saying is he's not a sadist. You know the lines I hate? I'm going to tell you a line I despise when I hear Christians say, oh, something good happened. God blessed us today, so we're waiting for something bad to happen. Why is that? Oh, because he never gives you anything good, but he doesn't give you something bad too. What on earth goes through your sadistic, demented mind? Amen. What kind of a God you like the nice toy? What kind of a God is this? My Bible says that he giveth, he addeth his blessing and addeth no sorrow with it. Right. Well, it's this idea that just something good happens, Let's say, oh, man, something good happened. Oh, no. What's the matter? What's he crying about? Oh, something good happened. I don't know what's going to happen. No, God did do something. Doesn't he say he delights in loving kindness? He delights in it. You know what tokens of love are? Tokens of love are just little things that you do. Listen, you talk to these people and they say, we talk to God about little things. They say, well, I don't bother him for the little things. We're just asking for the big ones. You're a liar. You are a liar, sir. You don't ask him for nothing. You are religious. That's your problem. Buddy, listen, we ask him for big things. Listen, I've asked him for everything. Look, I've asked him for some things you think are nuts. You know what he's done? He's been gracious and loving kindness. I needed 3 wooden crates one time when I was pastoring my church in New York. And I said, God, I need 3 wooden crates. I said, now I don't know where you get wooden crates. fruit boxes, you know. I said, where can I get? I said, could you get me 3 wooden crates? So, boy, you must have a real Christ in your life that all you can pray about is 3 wooden crates. Man, I asked him for what I need. And I pulled out of my church. You've been up there, you know. And I pull out of my church and I make a left turn. No car in sight. Not behind me, not in front of me. Laying in the middle of the lane of my lane of traffic are 3 wooden crates. Laying, right in front of the church. They're 20 feet from the driveway. They're laying in the church. They're laying right in front of the church in the middle of the road, 3 wooden crates. I don't believe that. I don't care what you believe. I don't care what you believe. Listen, man, when God answers prayers like that, you don't have to make things up, all right? You say, oh, they fell off the back of the truck. No, I think they were kicked. Just so happens I think I know who kicked them. People, I'm telling you, you say, oh, man, you shouldn't ask God for 3 wooden crates. Well, what would you do? Steal them? Let me ask you this. What would you do? Ask the devil for them? Or what are you asking things for? This is crazy. I wanted a cheater bar. You got to work on cars, know what a cheater bar is. That's what you bend all those unbreakable Craftsman ratchets with. And take it in and go, oh, I don't know. I just... And I said, I want a cheater bar. And I said, I don't know where to get a cheater bar, a piece of pipe. I said, would you find me a piece of pipe, Lord? I said, you give me a piece of pipe. And I'm driving down the road, and off to the road, off the side of the road, you know what I see? Get this. This is not just a mere mortal piece of pipe. This is an old fence post. It's the gate post. So it's a piece of pipe, but at the end of it's got that round ball so that I won't hurt my hand on the thread when I use my cheater bar. You say, oh, I think that's crazy. I think that's loving kindness for a dumb kid. That's what it is. Listen, man, don't get the idea you're smart. Don't you get the idea. You know this doctor, you remember one thing. This book here says men of high degree are alive. And I'm going to tell you what it is. It's just one stupid kid. And you know what God says? He says, but you know why I think he does that? Because he knows that when I see it, man, my eyes light up just like Luke did with that 3-wheeler. Listen, when God just shows a token of love, I get excited about that. Yeah. I get excited about that. And I need a piece of exhaust pipe 18 inches long. 18 inches. Well, I'm Baptist, but I got some Jewish blood in me somewhere. I ain't going down to the muffler shop and say, give me 18 inches of exhaust pipe. You know, I'd rather go under a car in a parking lot. God answered it. And I said, Lord, I need a piece of exhaust pipe 18 inches long. I said, would you please? Now look, get this. Is God hearing what I'm telling you right now? Is he listening to me? Sure. Yeah. Do you realize the trouble I'm in if I'm either lying to you or gloating in this? I am trying to give you some things that have happened in my life. I am not trying to take pressure. Oh, God does forget. No. I'm telling you about a loving God, a God of loving kindness. I'm not trying to impress you with what Sam Gipp does. All right? It's not like, oh boy, Gipp must be special. No, Gipp is a sinner who was lost and got saved, and I deserved hell as much as you do, and no more, no less. And now I'm going to heaven, no more, no less. You understand? Right. And so it is God is a God of loving kindness, and you don't have to pass no letter around. Yeah. You understand? You don't have to pass no letter around to get his blessing. And I said, would you give me a piece of 18-inch piece of exhaust pipe? I pulled into my church parking lot. Laying there was a piece of exhaust pipe. Now get this, 18 inches long. It was like new. Because, if you're going to find one alongside the road, it's going to be coming off like an onion. Peeled, skinned, layer by layer. This thing was like new, except at the end of it where it was rusted, where it had been on the hanger. And it rusted right around the hanger and broken off in our church parking lot as a coincidence. I told somebody something about, one time about some things God did for me. They said, well, don't you think that's a coincidence? And I said, well, it's like this. I said, whenever something bad happens, we always blame God. And whenever it's good, we call it a coincidence. And I said, it's like this. It might be a coincidence, but I don't think God gets mad that I give him credit for it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you do find a $5 bill in the street, I mean a real $5 bill in the street. I mean, I don't mean if you're following your church members around. I mean if you find a real $5 bill in the street. If it's a coincidence, just say, God, thank you for this. God said, oh, I'll do that. That's pretty good. He thought of me. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? He's a God of loving kindness. And he just, you know, we are a simple family. We tool around in a $30,000 van. Yeah. Pull around about a $25,000 trailer. All right? You know what we get excited over? We get excited over watching airplanes take off. My kids and I, we see a fancy car going through. Oh, noses to the glass. We get excited over very simple little things. We really do. And we're just big kids, including me. I mean, the old man is nothing but a kid. My boys are just kids. And we just get excited about little things. And you know why God gives me little things? Because he looks down at heaven and he says, look at that. And that turned him on. I mean, what kid would not excite his father if he got excited over nothing but 18 inches of round steel? You know what I'm saying? Give the kid a piece of exhaust pipe and he's happy. You know, most of them want the car attached. This one just wants an exhaust pipe. And he looks down, but you know what? He didn't do that for me. He did that because he said, I delight to do that. He said, man, I just love to do that. He said, you know why God doesn't do little things for you? Some of you wouldn't say thanks anyway. We come whipping in that van, people say, oh, I had one preacher. I was unkind to him. He's walking around the van, you know. Oh, now, who was that guy that got this for you? I said, oh, you wouldn't know him. I'll spell his name for you. G-O-D. And you know, these people walking around here, they say, oh, I wish I had one of those. I say, yeah, you want one so you can go to the lake. Yeah. When I was pastoring, we had a parking lot and it needed plowed. And so I wanted a four-wheel drive truck. And it just so happened the lady in my church, her son, had a four-wheel drive truck, 72 Ford. Now this thing was one of those ones that came from the factory with rust. I mean, everything that, you know, the windshield was rusted. I mean, the dashboard was rusted. The tires were rusted. Everything was rusted. The fan belt was rusted. I mean, it was all rust. But here's what I said. I'll tell you the truth. Here's what I said. I shouldn't tell you it that way. I had put in an order for the truck I wanted. And I said this to God. I said, God, I want a 3/4 ton truck. I mean, I just load them down good, so I don't want a half ton. I said, I want a 3/4 ton. I want an 8-foot bed. I want a 4-speed. I don't want to plow with an automatic. I want a 4-speed. And I said, I would like a V8. But I'll settle for a 6, but I'd like a V8 for the torque. This kid had a 72 Ford with a 360 V8 engine, with a 4-speed, with his 3/4 ton, 8-foot bed. It was junk. I mean, it was bald tires. You know, it didn't have a plow on it or anything, but bald tires, hardly ran. He wanted $1,000 for it. Now, you have to understand, this is not the face of a fool. And this truck and $1,000 are never, ever going to see each other. At least not from me. And I can't do the guy down because his mother is a member of my church. It'd be like, what do they call it? Conflict of interest. You know what I'm saying? So I let him alone. I told him, I said, you know, what do you want for the truck? He said, $1,000. I said, that's fine. And I left. But the bad thing was, I drove past it every day going to the church. For 6 months, I drive by this truck. I mean, he ain't selling it. He ain't selling it. Tires gonna fly. He ain't selling it. He ain't selling it. Look, I'm gonna tell you, you have trouble giving it away. And one day I'd had it, and I drove by and I said, God, I said, if I could get that truck for $500 today, I'd buy it today. I said, I'd give $500 for that truck today. He told me, and then you called him and said, I didn't do anything. I just told God that. And I went to the church. And I'm sitting in the church and the phone rings. And this guy is on the other one and says, this is Tim, I got the truck. Oh, yeah. He said, I got a guy that'll give me $200 for my truck. What do you give me? I said, 3. I told you, it's not the face of a fool. 500 was a cap, man. It wasn't oh, well, let me give you 300 more than these guys asking. I mean, I should have said 201. But and I put a clutch in it and everything else in it, electrical system, did all kind. I put the other 200 in it. But now I got this truck and I got no tires and I got no blades. And I thank God, now I'm excited about it. I still have this truck. This is back in Ohio with a cap on it, with all the junk I own, and it's just sitting there. And anyway, so I need a blade. Now, I put in an order for a blade. I mean this. Look, when I say that, I don't mean that I order God or anything. I mean I ask him, this is what I like. I have a nasty bad back. Now, I just do, and I've plowed snow in the past, and I've plowed it with power tilt, and I've plowed it with, pull the pin and turn the blade and put it down, and I said, God, I need a blade. I said, I need a 7-foot wide blade, and I said, I need a power tilt. I said, I just am not getting out in the snow and playing these, pull the pin, line it up, turn it, look how that works, It's just not for me. I was telling you, preacher day, there was only one truck in the state of New York that was uglier than my truck. And the man that owned that truck was a member of my church. It was a 1976 GMC. Now, to tell you how bad this truck was, this guy had a Fisher. Yeah, Fisher power tilt blade. 7-foot Fisher power tilt on this truck. This truck, to let you know how bad it was, he had a guy following him one day, and his truck quit running. And the guy behind him ran into him in the clouds. I mean, he could not see the guy's truck. And he said, as soon as it stalled, I knew what happened. And he said, I jumped out of the truck and started running back here because I knew what was going to happen. He said, I knew he wouldn't see me. I mean, just, the mosquitoes are getting down and crawling to get out from underneath the smoke. And this guy come in and go, boom, just put the bed right up on the cab, And he comes to me one day and he says, preacher, he says, you want to plow for your truck? Oh, he said, yes, I do. He says, if you take it off my truck, you can have it. Now, you ladies don't understand this, but all that plow stuff is universal except where it mounts to the truck. Mine was a 72 Ford. His is a 76 GMC, and they're called the plow frames, where they bolt to the truck itself. And those aren't the same. And I said, well, I guess I'll go see if I can get a set of frames made up for it. He said, no problem. He said, when I got this plow, I got it off a 72 Ford. And he said, I got the frames at home, I'll drop them off. Oh, wait a second, I got a problem. Now I get a truck, and I get a blade. And God is watching this, and he's delighting, because I am just tickled. But do you know how good a 4-wheel drive, and this thing has got locked differentials. When I put it in 4-wheel drive, I mean, listen, man, we will pull buildings off the foundation. All right? But not with this one, because it's got 4 donuts. Do you know how frustrating it is to dig 4 trenches in the snow with 4 bald tires? Tammy got the money for 4 tires. This truck was so bad that before I could mount the plow to it, it took 2 days of undergirding the front end. And we had it in a barn. And me and a guy, we were out there one day working on it. And I'm on my way out there the next night. Now, at this point, Sam loses his faith. I'm driving my car, I'm going out there, I said, hey, God, I said I got the truck, I got a price. I said, man, I can't afford tires, I need tires for this truck. You know what God said to me? He says, did I get the truck? I said, yeah. He said, I get the blade? I said, yeah. He said, what's harder to get, tires or a blade? I went, you're going to get me 4 tires for my truck! I'm telling you, man, I got to the barn, I jumped out of my car, ran in, I said, whoa, guess what? And he's laying his back, what, preacher? You know, oil running down his pitcher. What, preacher? I said, God's going to give me 4 tires for my truck. How do you know? I said, he just told me. And a week later, a guy came up to my door, hands me a check, says, when you get the tires, just right in your mouth. You know what that is? Look, I am a dumb kid. And any father that takes care of a dumb kid's got to love him. And you know what that is? That was my loving Father. This is the Lord of glory. This is the one that made the universe. You know what? He was having fun. And he wasn't having fun saying, I'll give Sam a truck and then I'll have something bad happen to us. Or you think he puts, I'm not a believer in Halloween, but they must think that God is the one who inspires needles and apples at Halloween. Here, bite deep. That's what people think. Listen, that is not loving kindness. Do you understand? You know what I'm telling you? I'm telling you not about a person. I'm telling you about God who looks at a dumb kid and he says, you know what? I just like to be nice to this dumb guy. I just delight in it. People, I'm telling you something. You know what you need to learn to do? You need to learn to have loving kindness and not have it. Not have it. He didn't say I have it. He said I exercise it. You know how you've always griped? I know you got the cattle 1,000 hills. How about selling a couple and helping me out? You know what I'm saying? Having them ain't doing me a bit of good. How about you doing something with them? Same thing is true. Nice that you have loving kindness. How about laying a little of that loving kindness on me? He didn't say I have loving kindness. He said I exercise loving kindness. Now, you know as well as I do, you did anything to stay in any kind of shape, you've got to exercise regularly. You know what God does? God exercises his loving kindness regularly. And he says, I just delight in it. You want to be a delight to the Lord? Exercise. I thought, well, here, just lift the lid now, And I'm thinking, this guy must have shown me his rocks. He must have shown me his rocks. I mean, my kids show me their rocks. Yeah, they say, look, I found this in the parking lot. Just white with some gray in that. Yeah, it's neat. My kids get excited. This guy's going to go, and I go in the garage, and he's got a bunch of rocks. Look. Oh, it's nice. What do you do? Well, we go to rock shows, and we just show you show your rocks. Can you imagine the fevered pitch of excitement as everybody stands around their table full of polish? Okay, granite, roll over. Okay, fly. I like cars. Chainsaws don't do a lot for me except cut wood. I borrowed a guy's chainsaw one time. Mistake. This thing, I don't know who owned it previously, but NOAH was carved into the casing. And if it's going to break, it's going to break when Ham Hands gets a hold of it. And so I put a tug on this thing. The rope don't break. Oh, no, you can replace rope. No, this thing, the guts inside the starter just goes. I'll take this off. Now, in our church there that I was a member of in Cincinnati, there's a guy who was a truck driver. When all of the things, if anything you need, I can get it. And he could. And I took him this and I said, find one of these. And he came back with the bad news and the good news. You're saying the bad news is there's one in the United States, and the good news is there's one in the United States, the bad news is it costs $10,000. Oh, no. The bad news was they quit making that model shortly after the Civil War. Now get this. He says, I found some guy that finally knew what kind it was, and he said, oh man, they quit making that 66. He said, you're not going to find it. You're never going to find that piece. And I said, well, what is the good news? He says, this guy told me, that's a collector's item. I have a little bit of a warp to my imagination. And immediately what I envision some guy going to the chainsaw collector's convention. And I can see a room with shelves about right there where that molding is, shelves with chainsaws, And I can see this guy coming in, from somewhere in probably Oregon. And with about three of these saying, honey, look at this! Look what I got! And her going, yeah. I mean, chainsaws don't do anything for me. But I like cars. Now, you preacher and I were getting some car parts today, and we stopped. They had these big photos. I mean, beautiful, probably 35 millimeter, professionally taken, whatever they are, photos of cars. And there was a 69 396 Chevelle, jet black, jacked up. I mean, it was sharp. There was a Cobra 427, two of them in there. One we did get out under his shirt. In fact, we could have put 4 or 5 of them side by side. But anyway, But now imagine, I'm looking at this now. Now imagine here, get this. Now you have to understand what a Cobra is. I mean, it's just this beautiful car, a little sports car, built in Britain, but somebody dumped a 427 Ford engine in. What that makes that do is it makes it fly like a rocket. I said, man, when those things were on the street, Corvettes would seem a block away and turn off. No offense. But that's what they did. Now imagine, if you will, somebody comes across this rare Cobra, and it's kind of in a barn and dilapidated, and the guy gets it, and he says, man, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put moon hubcaps on it. You're going to what? I'm putting moon hubcaps. I'm putting those moons on. Man, I like them moons. And you know, it's really rare, but I found a set of fender skirts for that Cobra, and I'm putting them fender skirts on you. You're putting moon hubcaps and fender skirts. And again, in wide white walls. And I'm giving it that gas hog engine. I found a 6-cylinder Chevy truck, you know, and we're putting a 292 in it. But I'm going to have 2 side draft carburetors on it. And what color are you going to paint? I thought purple would be nice. Somehow I think that would. Now, you know what? I like cars. And what this man is doing to this car is a travesty. You understand? What this man is doing to this car should not be done. It was not meant. I mean, what you do is you get yourself a set of road wheels. You don't put no fender skirts, and you put nice, wide, black walls that grip like a tiger. You understand? And you tear that 427 down, and you have somebody that can put it back together in their sleep, balance each part, and put it together. What this guy is doing to that makes me want to scream. That must be what God feels like when he sees our judicial system in action. You know what I'm saying? He looks down at the courtroom and he says, "This, you are judge. You know what this man deserves." And the guy says, "I'll let him walk." And he says, "What about this one? You know what they deserve." And the guy says, "Let him walk." Now I'm telling you people, it must make God's skin crawl to see judgment not meted out properly in our country. He loves judgment. He said he delights in judgment. Or you can say all you want about the bad guys. I know some bad guys in the Bible I look up to. I look up to Zeba and Zalmunna. Now I ain't going to name my kids after them. I mean, if you want Bible names for your kids, please. Don't have twins and say, "Zeba, Zalmunna." I mean, I'd be an atheist if my parents named me that. I'd say, if God told you to do that, I don't want no part of it, you know. Those are bad guys. And Gideon conquers them, captures them, and brings them in before him. He said, "What were the men that you killed at such a city? What were they like?" He said, "Oh, man, they were like you. They were like the sons of a prince." He says, "Listen, they're my brethren." He said, "If you hadn't killed them, I'd let you live." Now, you have to be sentenced to something to understand what goes through your body emotionally when somebody says, "I sentence you to this." I got sentenced to 6 months in Mansfield Reformatory one time. When that guy said that, man, I mean, it was like all of the blood in my body went to my feet. You just want to pass out. I don't even know what it's like to stand there and have a guy say, "Death." I don't know what it's like. But I got a feeling that I might do things like kiss feet, beg, you know? It's all not me. Yeah, I know. You're a real man. And here are these two bad guys who have no character, right? Bad guys have no character. And Gideon says to his son, "Jephthah, go down and fall on him." Well, the Bible says he wouldn't go down because he's a youth and he's afraid. And you know what these two guys said when they saw their break to get away alive and say, "Well, see, must be predestined for us to live. Your son don't like kill us." And they looked at Gideon and said, "Fall on us, will you? For as the man is, such is he." They said, "Will you kill us? We want to die with honor." Those guys knew something about justice. You know what I think? I don't think God desires to kill people. I don't believe in capital punishment. I do not believe in capital punishment. You know why? When my boys are bad, I punish them. Punishment is something you do to somebody that teaches them to refrain from the error of their ways. You understand? If I punish somebody, well, I punish my children, I'm teaching them not to do that again. You can't have capital punishment. When you put a guy in an electric chair, now you'll never do that again, right? I mean, smoke wafting through the room, See, now he'll never be. I don't believe in capital punishment. See, and that's the term they made it. I believe in the death sentence. The death sentence is judgment. See, we've got this idea that we're supposed to be emotional about the death sentence. We're not supposed to be emotional about it. When a man, even Theodore Bundy, and of course a killer like that, you get emotional about. Which, by the way, I imagine it must turn God's guts. A guy could be on death row for 11 years in a judicial system. But you see, here's what it's like. If a guy kills somebody, let's say, he gets drunk, and, he gets into a fight with a guy who's the rottenest guy in town. And in the process of that fight, he cold-bloodedly takes his knife and slices that guy's throat, intending to kill him. Everybody in town is glad he did it. But the Bible says he should die. We don't have to try to conjure up hatred for him because I can't kill him unless I'm angry. You deserve to die. You don't have to hate him. And you also have to say, look, man, the guy needed to die. We're going to let you off. You know what you say? You say, I don't hate you. And the town is better for what you did. But justice is when you kill somebody, you must die. You don't have to be emotionally involved in that. You don't have to say, I agree with it. You don't have to say, I disagree with it. You say, you did it. God delights in judgment. God delights in it. You know you're a judge. Yeah, you are. Doesn't it say, he that is spiritual judgeth all things? Say, what kind of judgment you think God would delight in? I think God would delight in you judging everybody else's kids like you judge yours.
Yeah, amen. Amen.
You know how your kids, up my junior, set fire to the firehouse. No. Put those matches away, kid. Put the Zippo away. No. How could you say my child? Look. My folks believed everything I told them. We stole 3 cars one night. Take it back. We stole 2 cars. We planned on stealing 3. 1 wouldn't start. But we stole 2. This is 1966. We went by. I had stolen the keys off a lot of a 65 Chevy 327 4-speed. Used car. I just got in it looking at it. Peeled the key ring off. Left 1 key in the ignition. Pulled that one out. Put it in my pocket. Put the other ignition key in. I got ignition. Then we went by on Saturday when the dealer was closed to this new Lincoln lot, and we hot-wired 2 66 Comet Cyclone GT, 390 4-speed. We said, we'll be back tonight and get them. So what we were going to do is, we walked to the dealership where the Chevy was. I was going to get my car, because I wasn't going to have no Ford. And now, do you know whose idea this fiasco was? Oh, not mine. Anyway, so we go to, but this Chevy, the battery's dead. So I knew it was really a Chevy. But anyway, no. Wouldn't crack. See, we're going to steal that and drive it to the Lincoln dealer. We're going to steal those 2 cars. Well, it wouldn't start. We ended up walking to the Lincoln dealer, stole those 2 cars. That's why I got sentenced to 6 months. Now, that's how it happened. That ain't how I told my folks. The story I told my folks went something like, I was walking down the street, and these guys who had previously stolen these cars drove by so fast, their windows were down, and the vacuum kind of sucked me in. It was something to that effect. It really didn't have to be much. They believed it. So what? I'm their kid. My mom was always saying, my folks were always saying, don't hang around that kid. It gets you in trouble. You know what that kid's folks were saying? Don't hang around that Gipp kid. He'll get you in trouble. But you know what you do? Send your kids out of the room tonight and then look around, and you're looking at all the bad kids in church. And there are times you're just going to stand up and say, look, you're wrong. Son, you're wrong. You know that little action, God delights. You know that? You know that when you spank your child, it is a delight to God. No, not because He is a sadist, but because that is proper judgment. I am not always mad. I was mad at Nathan. I think it was last night. I spanked Nathan last night. But the eyes have cleared up a lot. And I was mad. And so I yelled at him before I spanked him. But you know why I was yelling at him? Because I wasn't going to spank him. I was just cooling down because I want to spank him while I was mad at him. And then I cooled down. And then I beat him all hour to. There are times when I look at my sons and I say, son, I'm not mad at you at all. I'm not mad at you. And I love you. And I don't want to spank you. But what you've done, I've got to spank you for. Listen, there are times when I have literally, now it does not hurt me worse than it hurts them. Okay? Those little 9 pieces of leather with that glass on the end, when it hits, we use a 3/8 piece of dowel, because it's the closest thing we get to is a rod, you know. And I'll tell you another reason why we do it. I think that's really biblical. It's the closest thing there is to a rod. Besides, if I'm ever called into court, you know, for beating my child, I don't want to produce this 2x12 with air holes drilled through it and hand grips with a radar guidance system that says, you know, there's blood spatters on it, you know, and have this guy, you know, where 3 men have to carry it into the court. I want to be able to hold this thing up and say, you know, let's put a scale here. Oh, it's 3 ounces. This is the weapon that I damage my child with. You realize you cannot hurt a child's kidneys with that? I mean that. You can't. You get a board. Now, I didn't know you weren't supposed to use them on the edge, you know, those paddles. So maybe that was the problem. But you know, I didn't know it wasn't supposed to be their head. But anyway, you can't damage a kid's kidneys. But I have on occasion whacked myself, and I know that it hurts them worse than it hurts me. But there are still times when both of us cry before the spanking. You know what I believe? I believe God delights in that, because that is judgment. I don't want to spank my child. I don't have to be angry. I don't even have to make it like he did some horrible crime. I just say, son, I told you if you did this, I would spank you, and you've done it. Now I have got to spank you. And I do. God says, I delight in judgment. God would delight. I have been in some restaurants where I would like to give God a little delight. I mean, I've been in. We were at a rest area. I guess it was on the way 2 weeks ago. You know, on the way east, and this little monster, I think it was Boris Karloff III, was running around, and his mother and father didn't even have what it takes to go chase him. Come on, Brian. Brian. Oh, get down off there, Brian. No, don't make that face at me, Brian. I'm going to stamp my foot. See what you made me do, Brian. So an embarrassed grandfather has to go get this kid, and the kid chucks rocks at his grandfather. I'd chuck the kid. My kids will not be disrespectful to their grandparents, period. Let alone throw rocks at them. You know what? Now, you know what happens? You hate the kid. It ain't the kid's fault. I know he's a sinner. I'm not giving you this, environment made him bad. But I'll tell you, every one of your children are brats. And the other thing that stops it is you. Any kid that's bad is bad because his parents allow it. Oh, what about a strong-willed child? What about a weak-willed parent? You know, there was a day when all bad children went to sleep, and the next day there were no more bad children, but there was a whole epidemic of hyperactivity. That's right. They all got hyper. Listen, I don't believe in hyperactive children. If I did, I would believe I could point one out. This boy make you a believer in Valium. Not for me, for him. I said, we give him a little NyQuil. So is he sick? And no, but man, he sure smiles a lot. Oh, you feel better? No, but I don't care anymore. It don't get you well. It's just you don't care no more about nothing. I'm telling you, listen, parents, you will be delight to God. Now, don't be over. Don't say, if you do this, I will give you 500 whacks. I mean, don't be stupid about it. But carry out your judgment. Look, you know that there's only one kind of wound that is blue? That's a bruise. I do not tell people you should bruise your children. There is a place to spank them. It's right here. So I carry my New Testament right back here just in case. You want to hit the Bible? Anyway, but there's a place to spank them. Sometimes that gets bruised. Now, I got bad news for you. It's kind of like the 2 Matchbox cars for your birthday. They will not grow up warped. You don't need to blacken their eyes. You don't need to pull their arms out of sockets. Oh, that happens. That happens. You don't backhand them. None of that stuff. You put them over the knee. You spank them. It's done. Say, oh, there's a bruise. I don't know if you know this yet. They go away. I didn't say, you had to cut them from here to here with a knife. So you have a scar, the bruise goes away. The Bible says the blueness of a wound is what chases foolishness out of the heart of a child. I didn't say you should spank them until they're bruised. I'm just saying that if you spank your child and they get bruised, honest, it will go away. All right? That's judgment. Hey, you know what judgment is? Judgment is when your friend can be as wrong as your enemy. You know who's right? My friend. You know who's wrong? Anybody that disagrees with me. That's how it works. That's how it works. That's not judgment. That's prejudice. That's bias. That's exactly what goes on in our judicial system. I love this guy. Man, I hate to think that something would happen that he'd have to say, Sam, you're my friend. You are wrong here. Or that I'd have to say, Mike, listen, man, I agree with you 100% everything, but this is wrong. You can't do 5 both sides. Do 20s both sides. Don't do 5. Anyway. You see what I'm saying? I mean, there's a point where you may have to tell your friend, I'm sorry, you're wrong. You say, oh yeah, I'll lose my friend. You will delight the Lord. He said, exercising judgment is a delight to him. You know how glad he is going to feel when he steamrolls this world? It doesn't even have to be anger. Just a delight to carry out judgment. Judgment is a wonderful thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a wonderful thing. Look what it says next. I am the Lord which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness. You would do well to exercise righteousness. You know, our eternal security has just about destroyed our righteousness. People say, oh man, them JWs, man, the Mormons, they're all busy. Yeah, they're trying to get to heaven or somewhere. Yeah. We ain't trying to get anywhere. Now, if you understand election, I think I've talked to you guys about election some years ago. And if you understand election, you know why you ought to be doing something. But folks, our eternal security has made it so that we can stay home and watch the football game. This book says he loves righteousness. You know, the sad thing is that if I tell you to live righteously, somebody else is going to come in and call you a legalist. Everybody is worried about liberating everybody from legalism. So what's legalism? Anybody's got a conviction I don't have. That's the truth. Well, I got some convictions, but if you got one I don't have, then you are a legalist. That's how it works. Say, why? Because if yours is from God, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, amen.
So,
Right.
if you don't, well, and mine are all from God, and I'm right with God, how can you disagree? Anyway, so if you have a conviction I don't have, you are a legalist. That's how it works. I've got people call me a legalist. I got some call me a liberal. I really don't care. I'm concerned with this book. But now I'm going to tell you something, my friend. I'll give you an example. I lost a friend of mine. I lost a friend. I'm in the